Welcome to another episode of Venture. Today, I'll be joined by Amy Francetic from Invenergy. But before we get into our discussion, let's take a look at some investment news hitting the built environment. As you may have heard, Procore announced raising $50 million at the end of 2016. This put the construction software company's valuation at $1 billion. That's more than twice of what it was coming out of 2015. Another familiar face to Built World's Breather, the mobile app that allows people to rent workspaces on demand, they raised $40 million, bringing their total capital to $73 million. ENR's #1 ranked design firm, Burns & McDonnell, has acquired ASCO Inc., one of the U.S.'s premier industrial contractors. Burns & McDonnell CEO-elect Ray Kowalik said that the acquisition, while rare for them, was also a natural move, as ASCO's construction and pipe fabrication capabilities are a perfect fit for their multi-billion-dollar construction arm. While the push for green energy may seem somewhat disrupted due to the U.S.'s political situation, billionaire Bill Gates is launching a $1 billion fund called Breakthrough Energy Ventures, and that's to invest in new forms of clean energy. Which brings me to our guest today. Amy Francetic is Vice President of New Ventures and Corporate Affairs at Invenergy. Do you mind just telling me a little bit about your role and Invenergy in general?
Sure. Invenergy is the world's largest independent power producer, and we have in construction or in development 14,000 megawatts of wind, solar, battery storage, and natural gas generation. So we build and manage large-scale, utility-scale clean energy.
As a provider of renewable energy, can you tell me why you think it's important to invest in technologies within that sector?
We always want to be on the cutting edge of innovation, and it's helped us during this entire energy transition that's occurring right before our eyes, from fossil fuels to clean energy, to make sure that we're using the most efficient technology, the most reliable technology, so that we can generate electricity at a very, very competitive price and deliver it to people wherever that need may be.
So what new technologies are you looking at right now?
Well, we're most interested in the data intelligence and the control systems that sit on top of our physical infrastructure. And so as a developer who owns and manages most of our investments, our assets, we are looking for ways that we can use software and hardware that will help us make sure we get better production out of those wind farms, that helps us dispatch and recharge energy in our batteries at the right times, helps us operate our thermal plants, most efficiently as possible, using the least amount of water. And there's a lot of great data intelligence that we're adopting from other industries, in fact, to help do that successfully.
So does it make your customers feel more comforted when you can tell them, or when you will be able to tell them, like, we're not only looking to provide efficient energy, but we're also looking to make sure it's secure, and so you won't have these risks of someone hacking into them?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think our customers, who are primarily utility companies, so we have long-term contracts with utility companies, as well as commercial and industrial users. So a lot of big tech companies that operate data centers and warehouses are turning to clean energy. They want to green their supply chain of energy. And those customers really want to make sure that the systems that are providing that energy are secure and are not going to create vulnerability or risk to the rest of the system that those folks operate. And if someone gets into the system and they want to cause some trouble, we've seen what's happened in the Ukraine, where some Ukrainian hackers took down a whole portion of the grid, and that can be very, very tragic. It can cause loss of life. It can cause enormous disruption to our daily life and to the productivity of the country. So it's really important that we look at ways to secure the grid and make sure that it's protected against any kind of bad actors.
How would you say, just in general, though, the market for renewable energy has changed? Like, are there more players, or how has that kind of developed over the years?
Well, it has absolutely grown tremendously, and most of the energy that's been added onto the grid over the last couple of decades has come from clean sources. So this is a major transformation that's been happening because of market economics, really. And natural gas has become so cost effective, as has wind energy, that it has made some of the older fossil fuels less competitive and has made some of the nuclear plants less competitive. So, in the recent presidential election, President-elect Trump hoped to bring back coal energy for a lot of the communities that have been severely impacted by this energy transformation, and that's going to be really hard to do. I think that many people and many business people see that the closure of these coal plants have happened because of market forces, not because of regulation. And unfortunately, I don't think that a single president will be able to change that tide.
How do you think this industry is going to continue to change?
Well, one area that I think everyone agrees we need some more investment in, and where federal leadership could really help, is with transmission infrastructure. So this is the infrastructure that would allow us to take the energy from where it's generated, which is primarily in rural areas, and move it to wherever the load is, and that's primarily in the cities. And so we need to build some transmission to enable that, and to deliver clean energy from the rural countryside to the cities. And there's an opportunity with the President-elect's infrastructure bill to invest in some of that transmission infrastructure. That would really help advance the build out of clean energy, and would allow folks that are on the coast or in some of the major cities to use that energy as well. So I think that's one area that we're hopeful for. And if the President-elect's infrastructure bill moves forward with private investment, we think that may be a beneficiary of that legislation.
How would you say that all of these changes that are to come will affect the built environment?
First of all, the built environment is very local, right? It's in cities, it's in states, and I think cities and states are going to become even more important in their leadership towards sustainability. So individual mayors can make a big difference in rules that they set, in goals that they set for their cities. Governors can focus on renewable portfolio standards, or just supporting the growth of an industry that's emerging in their states that will drive job growth. And that's an opportunity for folks at the local level that are also supporters of real estate developers and all the big employers in those areas who want clean energy. That's how they can support clean energy. So I think at the local level it becomes really, really critical, and Mayor Rahm Emanuel has a very good plan for making Chicago a leading city, a globally leading city in clean energy, and we have to support him in those efforts and be ready to deliver what he wants.
Given the President-elect's stance kind of on, as I said, maybe old energy, if there's something that you could say to people who think that green energy, and as it has seen, maybe would have a pause about green energy, renewable energy, what advice or what would you say to them to just say green energy is here to stay? What would you say to them?
I think if we really want to invest in job creation in the United States, we have to look at industries that are growing, and our industry is growing. So I think that's a look forward for young people that are graduating, for folks that are maybe moving out of an industry that is declining. Please come over to the wind and solar industry. We're hiring. We need help. We need smart engineers. We need technicians. We need construction engineers. I think it's an area of great economic growth. So that would be my encouragement to those folks.
It's been great having you on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you all for tuning into this episode of Venture. Again, we had Amy Francetic with Invenergy. And if you want to learn more about Invenergy, you can go to invenergyllc.com. And to see more Built Worlds programming, subscribe to our channel. And we look forward to catching you guys on our next venture.